Welcome back. Banks facing major competition from the rise of online lending firms, customers getting loans easier, faster, cheaper. One such company, Kabbage, it lent small businesses more than $350 million last year alone. It is raising the bar for 2015. Joining me right now is Robert Frohwein. He is the CEO at Kabbage. Sir, good to have you on the program. Welcome.
Thank you, Maria. Appreciate it. Love being on.
Great. So I want to talk to you really about what's happening in terms of this, really revolution, I guess, and disruption for the major banks. But first, can you characterize the small lending environment right now? What are you seeing out there?
Well, what we're seeing obviously a lot of people actually flood into the market for small business lending, a lot of alternative lenders. I was joking the other day that I think the Girl Scouts of America are going to launch a small business lending program instead of selling cookies. But it really comes down to what kind of service you're creating. Are you just a traditional lender in a snazzy new website, or actually fundamentally changing the way that you interact with small businesses? They have a lot of work to do. They can't spend a lot of time putting together lots of materials to get a loan. So we tried to create a process where they can get a loan in 7 minutes.
Wow. How does that happen?
Well, so a small business lender owner comes to our site, gives us access to a few critical data sources that helps us understand how their small business runs. We qualify them right at that moment, and we give them an offer of capital right at that moment. So we make it very, very easy. There's no forms to fill out. You don't have to visit or talk to anybody. You can engage to the extent you want to engage with us. And it's worked great. We've grown tremendously, as you mentioned.
Well, it's interesting because I guess you would characterize Kabbage as not just a financial services company, but more of a technology company.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we spent the first 2 years of our life building a technology platform. We weren't trying to prove whether small businesses wanted or needed cash. That was totally obvious to us. What we were trying to do was say the way the existing banks do it is broken. It's too hard to acquire these customers. It's too hard to serve these. They treat every company like it's a $50 million company, and you have to recognize that these companies are smaller, and the person who's running the business is also the CFO, is also the shopkeeper, is also stocking inventory in the back, and you've got to treat them like that and respect their time.
Now that gives you, Kabbage, a lot of data in terms of small business, in terms of individuals, account information. In a world where we're all worried about hackers and cybersecurity, how do we know that that data is safe?
So we've invested a tremendous amount of time, energy, money into building the most secure platform that exists on the planet today. So we protect our technology through a myriad of techniques. We've had multiple security reviews done by outside firms to make sure that we're as locked up or better than the top financial companies in the world.
I see. And in terms of the large banking companies who obviously you are taking market share from, what's the sell for Kabbage? Why would I want to go this route as opposed to a larger bank that I know has, bigger resources, better resources in terms of what I'm looking for?
Well, I would argue on the better resources piece, but the reason you'd work with us is because we make it simple for you to work with us. We create zero hurdles. So you land on our site, you give us some data, you don't have to take cash right then. You can actually create an account, hold on to the cash for that moment when you actually need it in the business. Instead, with a traditional bank, it typically takes 6 or 8 weeks. You've got to work with 5 different banks, and you ultimately get to a no. Most small businesses are denied capital from the larger banks because they really look at these small businesses through the eyes of only the owner of the business, who is busy running that small business.
And I guess that means you don't need to have an enormous amount of employees. You don't need to have the expense side of the business that some of your larger competitors have. And you're also not following the regulatory onerous rules that also is very much the norm for the larger major banks.
Well, actually, what we've done since the very beginning is we've complied with all rules that would apply to us if we were actually a bank lender. And the other thing we've done is we've actually partnered with a bank out of Utah that's allowed us to issue the loans through their charter, not to get complicated here. But effectively, you've also got the protection of having the kind of regulatory oversight that any other bank would have to go through in working with a small business customer. We've just proved that you actually don't need all the other hurdles involved in that lending process. So
Understood.
We've removed all of them.
Yep, really interesting stuff. Rob will be watching. Thanks very much for talking with us and joining us today.